What does Vookum mean?
There's other small details I'm gonna have to leave out.
Are your watch negotiations fake? Because he thinks they're fake. He was like, this is such bullshit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, this is fake news.
You don't like the way it comes on, the way it sounds, or the way it looks. You don't want to be on camera. Fine. A lot of guys don't want to show their hand. And
How often do you deal with stolen and or fake watches?
the obvious fakes, we're not really going to get. We'll get the ones that are kind of like the ones that somebody put together to fool somebody, because 99% of the people on 47th Street haven't got a clue. Yes.
Plenty of parking lot deals at night, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Atlantic City deals.
Gas station
I never told you about those.
We're sitting right next to each other, super close this time.
Yes, we are. How does it feel? Are you nervous?
No, it's just uncomfortable. There's a lot going on in the building today here at Sirhan headquarters in Soho. And today's actually really, really special. We have very, very cool people. Not one, not two, but three people here for Business of Influence. We've been working on getting these guys here, but they're just too busy selling things all day long. And we've put them all on one couch. And so I'm going to introduce them here in a second. But what's the top thing on your mind? What's your emotion? Scale of 1 to 10. What do I have you on today?
I'm on a 10 right now. I had a massive cold brew, and I'm so excited because we're going to talk business today, which is, what we love on this podcast.
You drink cold brew?
I did it, just black cold brew.
Have you ever had cold brew before, or is this the first time?
In this amount, I think this is the first time because I'm actually
my
shaking right
God.
now.
Diego drank caffeine before he ran the marathon, and he went to the bathroom 52 times.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah, so if that happens to you, now we'll know. Our next guest actually completely changed my TikTok feed. It was like hula hoop girls and fitfluencers and lots of real estate. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, I guess I'm into watches now. And I'm seeing watches. John Buckley, 47th Street legend. We've got Tyler, founder of Vookum. Pronouncing it right?
Yeah.
Yep. And James, the man behind the camera, are completely changing the way people buy and sell watches and are introduced to watches and learning about watches and the business of watches. Lots of cool things that we want to kind of uncover here and pull away. John also has a Rolex Dial named after him.
Yes.
Which I want to go into, which is totally, totally insane. I want to figure out what Vookum means. I think there's something there, and figure out how this whole crew kind of came to be, how you got started. Are your watch negotiations fake? Because he thinks they're fake. He was like, this is such bullshit.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is fake news.
There's YouTubers that do watches that he's really into, and so you're here because of me. I just want to put that out there. That's why I pushed him away. Okay. And that's why he got a haircut, right? And I want to just dig into it. So welcome to the Business of Influence, man.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Oath.
Thanks for being here.
I mean, I want to start with just that. What does Vookum mean?
Vookum has no direct meaning. Vookum is a word that I made up when I was 19 years old, and I just had to think of a business name. So I sat down at a laptop, and I was just like thinking of words. I didn't want, I could have named it something dial or, Sky Watch or something stupid. But no, if you Google something like that, there's going to be other things that come up. So I sat there and I said, I have to think of a word that has no meaning yet. I gave it meaning, obviously. There's other small details I'm gonna have to leave out, but yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
It's just a word that you made up. I like that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that works. And how did this come to be? And then we'll peel this back.
I think we got to have Buckley tell the story.
Buckley, tell the story.
I'll tell the story. So it was like first or second grade, I want to say, and we went to the same elementary school. And we weren't in the same class yet, so we were two random people going.
Random people.
Yeah.
Didn't know each other.
Didn't know each other.
So he was not your real estate agent?
No, not even close. No. So I'm going to the bathroom one day, and true story, going to the bathroom one day, and I'm obviously going into a stall. I open the stall. He's sitting there taking a shit. And I'm like, oh, hey. He's like, what? What do you want? And then I'm just like, bye. So I shut the door, and it was really awkward.
Shut the door.
Saw him maybe a week or so later in the hallway or whatever, and then he's like, hey, you want to be friends?
Yeah.
I'm just like.
That's actually the story.
Yeah,
and then we had a play date.
Yeah. We had a play date, and my mom made mac and cheese, and that's what happened.
And then my parents came to pick me up, and they met Buckley and his wife, Josephine, and I guess they hit it. You guys hit it off, I'm sure.
Been
family friends.
Yeah,
family friends
ever since.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So I kind of stalked you guys. I went to the bottom of your For You page, of your TikTok pages.
It's good stuff.
I saw that you started posting on June of 2020, and you were posting jewelry-oriented content. So how did you all get to the watch world?
It was always watches, but You know, I think you and I actually started doing jewelry just because it was cheaper. We could buy more
first,
things to, you know, to have an inventory. Am I wrong?
Yeah, for like friends or people we knew or whatever that needed a chain, needed a bracelet, needed something, we would hustle and sell that stuff to them because it was affordable. It was easy to move out. So that's kind of how that started. That's jewelry.
Yeah, I think if you go down there on the feed there, it's maybe only 3 posts before 2021 because I started really getting serious about it January or February of 2022. So I've really only been on there for a year.
Before that, just kind of sporadic.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think it's seriously like 3 or 4 posts, maybe, if that.
And then things just started to take off from there.
Yeah, well, a lot of hard work. At first, it's, you know, you post something and you just see if it works, and a lot of things weren't working. And then I started posting these videos of watches where I'd be like, POV, you're buying this watch for your sister's
graduation
or whatever. And then, I don't know, those were just stupid, but they started blowing up a little bit, like 20, 30,000 views. I'm like, okay, I'm going to double down on these. So I started posting more of those. And then, you know, just experimenting with other things. And you just double down on things that work. Day in the life videos, those work too. And then negotiations.
So your videos are getting millions of views now, which is ridiculous. It's wild for TikTok. Congrats.
Thank
you guys are working together on that. You're getting millions of views as well, which is wild. The 3 of you combined, it's millions.
Yeah.
How did you start working together? When was it that, what's that?
I said hundreds of millions.
Hundreds of millions. Yeah, it's crazy.
Don't fuck up the number, Andy.
No, we're getting close to 1 billion
We
soon.
are. Well, we might
sitting
already
with
be
this.
there collectively, honestly.
I know, collectively.
Yeah.
If we
If not
count both of
there,
our accounts, it
we're
might
right
be 1 billion.
there.
Yeah.
We're right
So
there.
how did you all, you started TikTok first, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then when did you follow and when did you get involved in filming and everything?
I started filming just the regular videos of the watches probably last January, February. And then either in March or April, one day I'm talking to one of these guys and I'm negotiating on a watch. And I'm just like, Buck, what if you just film this and we post it and just see what happens? So he films it, I post it, got like 2 million views, and then it got taken down. So I reposted it. That next one got 1.5 million views, and then they reinstated the one that got taken down. So I was like, okay, so something's working. So then we just, every time we were doing business, I'm just like, Buck, film this. And then they just started popping off. That's how we did it.
The negotiations. Real? Are you telling people in front of you, like, hey,
1000% real.
Like, are you totally cool with us filming you and putting you on social, buying a watch from us?
At first, we would just do it. And then if they were like, no camera, then we were like, all right, Buck, put the camera away. But, as they started seeing we were gaining popularity, they were becoming more and more open to it, open to being on camera.
Got it. Yeah. For $1 Million Listing New York, for like 10 years, we would run into the same thing. Be like, hey, do you want to put this deal on the show?
Yeah.
You want to film that? I mean, there wouldn't be cameras with me 24/7. And I didn't have just like a buck.
Yeah.
Right there. It was like a whole production that way. But then as the show started gaining popularity, then people would start reaching out like, hey, thinking about selling my home. My mom's a real estate broker, but if I could be on TV with it, I'll do it through you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Are you starting to see some of that same effect now?
Yeah, people hit us up, yo, can you come see what I have? And, maybe we can make a deal. I'm like, yeah, sure. Stop by.
To buy their watches.
Yeah, buy or sell if they have something like specific that they want to buy. And if I have it.
What's your favorite negotiation so far?
I like when there's stuff wrong with stuff that I could just pick apart. That's what I really like.
Like finding value.
Well, I like to find like, little, discrepancies in like what people think they have compared to what they actually have. And I'm pretty good at that. I've been doing it for a long time. And I mean, negotiation wise, I did the same thing when I saw that they were doing it. We started doing, James and I, that's my son.
Yes.
So I started doing like, just like informative stuff. And one video that we did hit like, few 100,000 views, with a bracelet that was real and one that wasn't. So we kind of figured that, we have something here. And then I noticed that his negotiations were, they were picking up steam. And, I have, a different set of people that I usually dealt with. And they were very hesitant about doing it. And I was like, look, if you don't like the way it comes on, the way it sounds or the way it, looks, you don't want to be on camera, fine. A lot of guys don't want to show their hand.
Yeah.
So you got to be kind of particular about who you pick to put on, because we do a lot of videos that we just scrap because the guy's like, oh no, it was too much money. Oh, it's too low. It's like, all right, fine. Here's your check. We'll delete it. No problem. But the guys that we've been doing it with for a while are, they, little Eddie, Albert, Yasha, Tony, those guys, we do business. We've been doing business every day for over 20 years. So, we get on there and I tell James, it's like, look, just start the camera, let it roll. Whatever happens, happens. If we do a deal, great. If we don't do a deal, that's fine too. And that's what we've been doing. We do one take and, however it comes, it comes. And that's what kind of, got us to, a lot of views because people would kind of understand, the organic nature of it.
Sure.
It's authentic. And, we get a lot of pushback from people who don't understand 47th Street.
Yeah.
47th Street is a world unto itself. Just like
I'm
this
aware.
building
Yeah.
is a world unto itself. That's the way it is over there. So
Yeah. No, it's one block.
Yeah.
I mean, my first real estate office was on 49th and Madison.
Mhm.
I spent a lot of time just walking back and forth and looking inside the building like, man, these buildings are deep. They're deep.
Yeah.
So many floors, so many
yeah.
people.
It's a community, right? These people. I've noticed on your TikTok pages, you've negotiated, like I have a couple of names I remember. Dora, she stands out. Like these people, they're people you've worked with for so long.
Yes.
But I found it very curious that the majority of your negotiations were with other brokers. What is the reason for that? And is it more difficult to work with a broker or with a client, a direct client?
I'm a wholesale guy. I don't really work with anybody like private buyers or sellers. We can, it's just a whole other level of, doing business. I deal with pretty much the same people, all day, every day for, I don't know, God knows how many years. It's difficult dealing with the public.
So how does the price, trust me, we understand that when working in real estate.
Sure. I'm sure.
But how does the price differ when you're working, for example? I'm sure you guys are selling to other brokers and I'm sure you don't have to pay taxes on some of that stuff, right?
We pay at the end of the year.
At the end of the year, right? So how does it work when you're buying? Are you buying from these large watch companies? How does that work exactly? What do the percentages look like generally?
The percentages are not what people think. I mean, everybody thinks that if you're selling a $50,000 watch, you're making $10,000, and it's just the opposite. The more money the watch is, the less, your percentage is that you're actually going to make.
Sure.
You make way more money on smaller items. Your percentages are much better. And people, when you're dealing with the public, this is the reason why I don't like dealing with the public. When you're selling something to a dealer or a broker, as you say, they understand that, you're buying it, you're selling it, there it is. I've got my own service crew. They've got their own service crew. We don't have to worry about things, especially when it's pre-owned stuff. When you sell to a person, we call them privates. The guy's going to get it. He's going to take it home and put it on his $100 watch timer, which is useless. And they'll say, wait a minute, it's not running within chronometer specs. I'm like, do you know what chronometer specs really are? You've got to go crown up, crown down, face up, face down. It's like, oh no, I put it on the timer and it's saying that it's running, 7 seconds fast for the day. I'm like, you should really just look at your cell phone and put the watch in a drawer. I mean, that's the difference between dealing with the public. I mean, obviously there are many, many, professional collectors, I call them. That's what I consider myself, that we sell to overseas and in the US that understand that completely. And they're buying it like people would buy art.
Yeah, it's investment.
And that's, or real estate for that matter.
Yep.
They buy it warts and all. They want it for a reason. And that's what that's what I personally like to deal with. I like it easy. I'm old, I got all this gray hair for a reason. I used to sell to the public many years ago, and it's difficult. It's very difficult.
What watch are you wearing right now?
Apple Watch.
Yeah.
Wait, you're all wearing? What watch are you wearing?
Yeah.
You're not even wearing a watch.
No, I'm wearing a Vookum wristband, actually.
Okay, so at least you're on brand.
Yeah.
There you go.
He's got the T, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no. You got the hoodie?
Yeah.
All right.
How did you get into the watch business?
I was actually a caseworker in Bushwick.
Oh.
And the story goes, if you look on TikTok,
Yeah.
I lived on Clinton Street with my wife in our brownstone, and I was recycle day. And I always liked watches. And this is like 97. And I walked downstairs and I looked down at a recycle bin with paper, and there were these catalogs on top, and I saw watches, and one of them was thick and there was a couple of other ones. And I was like, oh, wow, look at this. So I grabbed them and I went on to my job over on Central Avenue in Bushwick. And I was looking through them, and eBay had just started to become a thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I wonder, if I put this on eBay, if I can make some money with it. put it on eBay, and it sold for $40. And this light bulb went off in my head. And it was like, okay, this is free money. So I tried to get more catalogs. I went to the auction house. I would say, hey, do you have any extra catalogs? I had my staff call up, in the back of the DuPont registry and the Rob Report, they would call up Tourneau and other watch companies and get all the stuff shipped to the office. And I would sell it on eBay. And I came up with the down payment for our first house with that. Yeah, it was crazy. And then I just, gravitated towards, bigger and better things. I started buying watches and buying parts and putting them on eBay. And in the early days, eBay was great. And I kind of stopped doing eBay around 2002, 2003 when it became saturated, very much like TikTok these days. And you just move on to, different stuff. But I always sold watches, and that's what I did, and I've been doing it now, since 97.
When did you go full? Would you full, okay, watches are my focus?
Okay, I put the down payment on the house and we moved to New Jersey. He was 6 months old.
Yep.
And I was working actually in Bushwick at the which YMCA? It was one of the YMCAs. I was running a program there. I had my own hours. I could do whatever I want. I would come in 2 or 3 days a week, but the drive was really killing me.
Yeah, brutal.
And I said, it was brutal. And I said, you know what? I'm going to give this a go. So I handed in my paperwork and been doing it ever since.
Got it.
And I was, it was hard. It's very hard. You see how it is.
Yeah.
It's difficult. Both of them. I mean,
you
he
put a
grew up in
picture of me
business. It's
when
hard.
I was like 18, right before I started, and now I just look like a completely different person.
Just in terms of levels of happiness.
Like I've been through the ringer.
Because why do you think that is? Because you living the life of a broker? Like
I don't even.
Because you're stressed.
Right?
You're stressed.
Maybe stress and just I don't know.
What does a day in your life look like?
It depends what day we're talking about. If it's a weekend, if it's a day we're going into the city, if it's a day that we're working from home, it all just depends on,
it's like a Monday. What's
Monday,
a Monday like for you?
If it's a Monday, I usually went to Atlantic City on the Sunday night beforehand, and I probably just got home Monday morning. So, get home probably around 6 a.m. and then sleep till maybe like, noon or 1, wake up, have a cup of coffee, take a piss.
Yep.
And then
I
just
appreciate the detail.
start buying stuff, start buying watches and having them shipped to the Jersey office. That's seriously, everybody wants to know, oh, I meditate in the morning and I run on the treadmill and I drink a half a gallon of water before I even get out of bed.
That's me.
I don't check my phone the first hour of the day. No, I get up, I piss, and I drink coffee and I go. That's what we do.
You start flipping watches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if we go to the city, then it's a completely different type of day.
Oh, that's way worse.
Yeah.
That's
like, that's nuts.
That's fucking
City
wild.
city days get nuts.
Yeah.
So something I
Tell
saw
us
on your
about it.
TikTok pages that you guys do is you walk around and you say hi to everyone, and you spoke about the importance of
Yep.
building the community.
He told me that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, well, I mean, what are some of the key points that you've learned from him over the last couple of years? Because he's obviously a great mentor.
Great mentor. That was obviously one of them is, you're looking at these, you got to look at them as people first, not just, I'm going to make $500 off this guy and $1,000 off that guy. You got to look at each person individually and get to know them. And, that's one of the main things I've learned so far in all business is just, look at people as people and not, paychecks or dollar signs.
Yeah. Something I've always said forever. And I did a show on Bravo about teaching people how to sell, which is like people hate being sold, but they love shopping with friends. Right. So if you treat everyone like they're not leads, they turn into contacts, they're all relationships. Eventually they're going to turn to you and say, what do you think I should buy?
Yep.
Right. Because they're going to buy it anyway.
There's guys on
to buy it through you.
Yeah, there's guys on the street that, someone will come over and try shopping with them and they'll just be just kind of shoo them away. And, that's just not what we're about.
Something I've noticed on almost all your transactions is that you kind of trust the other brokers in the community. You're like, I'll leave you this watch here. Just get me the check later.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously there's a community, but how does that trust form with everyone? Are people protective?
Well, with the people that you see me doing that with, we've been doing business for 4.5 years now. So I have that relationship with them. Also, you can kind of ask around. We have different dealer group chats on WhatsApp and Telegram, and you could ask, is this person okay to leave a watch with, or if we're shipping a watch, can I ship this watch to this person without getting paid? And as long as they've done good business, then they're pretty good.
So it's very reputation based.
The whole thing is reputation based. Yeah, if you have one mess up, then it's pretty much over for you.
And it happens.
I'm sure.
People with great reputations for what, 15, 20 years, and then they just ruin it off one thing.
Leave with millions, and And the funny thing is, then they'll come back a couple of years later. They'll, grease the right palms, and they're back in business.
Yeah.
And it's, they'll go insolvent in a company and, start up another company. It's like, I can never understand that. How could you walk the street? How could you look at people? And it happens a lot in our business.
Same. I mean, same in real estate too.
Oh, yeah. It's very similar.
Developers who go bankrupt and lose everybody's money, and then they go away and they come back, and all of a sudden, doing a new building, and like, but last time you forgot insulation.
Yeah.
On this building, you good?
You good.
That's different markets. There's a lot of rules and regulation in New York, but markets like South Florida and different places, like you see these buildings, they can just get built, and it's it's like greed first for a lot of people.
Yeah.
That way.
That's how the watch business is. It's a lot of guys, a lot of the newcomers. He had the benefit of, he grew up in the business. He grew up around the business because we're all very close.
Yes.
So he understands, values and ethics when it comes to business.
Can I just jump into real quick with what he just said about, greed first? I did flea markets before this. So I was over there just trying to make a quick dollar. And he picked up on that right away, right when I started coming in with him. And he's like, Ty, you got to... Remember what you said to me? You're like, this is about, building relationships, not about making a fast dollar. Like, you could sell a watch for a bunch of money and boom, you just made money, but it's more about, you want to give everybody a fair deal. And that's another thing that he taught me too, that if you want to go back to that topic of,
it's so important.
Things he mentored me, and that's another good key point.
There's another big one where you always say, like, your reputation's only as good as your ability to give a quick refund. That's like rule number one on this shit. It's like, that is the staple. It's like your reputation relies on that, and
so
being good to people.
How often do people ask for refunds?
Dealers very infrequently, but if you're dealing with the public, I mean, you'll sell somebody something, they'll drive you nuts for 2 weeks asking for something very specific, and you find it for them, and you'll ship it to them, and, they'll get it, oh, it's great. And then like a day or two later, you'll get a text or an email saying, oh, I'm really not crazy about it. My wife said this, or, the dog ate my homework. And I'll be like, look, just send it back. We're not going to overcharge somebody to the point where we're not going to take something back. If I'm going to make 2 or 3% on a watch, on a big watch, I'll buy it back. I usually give people a buyback on stuff if they're, privates. And like I said, it's very infrequent, but I'll be like, look, I'm going to buy this back from you. If you hold it for a year, I'll give you this buyback on it one way or another, no matter what happens in the market. Sometimes they'll take you up on it. Sometimes they won't. But, like James said, your reputation, you can't build it back up in this racket. I mean, even if you come back and you're 10 times bigger than you were, the first time, if you screw up, it's like they will, like guys like me, I'll be like, yeah, but like, just like what you said, you didn't put the insulation in the walls, I mean, what are you going to do with me now? So it's bad.
How many watches do you have?
I don't have a lot of watches. I'm not a watch collector. I'm not one of those guys.
You're moving them pretty quickly.
I go in and I've got maybe one piece that's one or two pieces that are untouchable. The first Rolex I ever bought and the first good watch I ever got, my wife bought for me at Macy's at Tag Heuer in 1996, and I still have them in a box. He wears my two-tone all the time because, I don't know, he's got his own watches, but he always likes to wear that for some reason. And I maybe 2 or 3 other watches that I have. I bought a very specific watch that I had been chasing for 10 years. This watch that was, given by the founder of Rolex to a proprietor in Switzerland many, many years ago. That's the one that I did the deal with the estate. The guy finally paid. The guy was going back and forth with me for years. The watch was probably, it was 50 grand, 75 grand. Then the guy passed away. May he rest in peace. He was a very nice guy, but he had something that I really wanted and he knew it. And I wound up buying it off the estate.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that's untouchable. I mean, one of these days I'll probably throw it in an auction. That's the Wilsdorf watch.
Okay.
And if I throw it in an auction and I make money on it, great. But I kind of like just having it locked up on 47th Street. It just makes me feel warm and fuzzy.
My first watch that I bought in New York City was a Rolex that I got on Canal Street. It was a fake Rolex. Because I saw all these top brokers running around and they all had Rolexes. That was the thing. Like if you're there and, back then, and this was 2008, 2009, and I'm sure well before then, it's like the broker owners, once you hit a certain dollar amount sold, they would like gift you a Rolex.
Yeah.
Like that was just like, it was like the rite of passage. And I had no patience. It's like, I can't wait for the rite of passage. I want this now. Rolexes are how much? I don't have that. I'm doing like rentals in Koreatown. So I went and got one that looked good from far away. And so I would just keep people far away, and I'd put it underneath like my sleeve and stuff, and then it would start turning my wrist green.
Ooh.
Because it's so hot and sweaty in New York City, right? So I'd be in a suit and tie, running around showing rentals with like a green wrist. It's terrible. Yeah, it was a moment in time.
That builds character.
It did. Yeah, it did. It forced me to I got to work really hard so I could afford one that's real.
When did you get your first real one?
My first real Rolex. For the year. So I guess I still lived on Pine Street. So I lived downtown. So I hadn't moved yet. So that was 2000. I want to say 2012 then. Probably hadn't moved. And it was a moment where I was starting to sell a lot of real estate. I was selling apartments every week now, right? Instead of like one a month or like here and there. So selling apartments every week. And I was in a mall in an airport in Florida. And I walked by, I can't remember what the jewelry store was called, but there was a rose gold Daytona in there. And I walked by and I was like, are these for sale? And they said yes. And I don't think it's what the Rolex is. The line that you always get when you go into the stores and the malls is, we don't negotiate. Like, this is the price, take it or leave it. And so I was just like the worst buyer ever. I said, sure. And so I just bought it there. And so I've had it for, a long time now.
That's a big boy watch. I mean, it's no joke.
Yeah, it was like 30, I think, like on a credit card that I then had, and it just weighed my arm down on the plane. And then I hid it because then I was so embarrassed. Afterwards, I was like, I can't walk around with this thing. It's so I don't know. It almost kind of had the reverse effect. I take it out here and there, but Rolex as a brand, still nothing to this day has really touched it, right?
Nope.
Is it still your most popular watch you deal with? Like by far or close to it?
By far. It's the benchmark.
Why?
For the same reason that you had to go out and buy one on Canal Street. It's like, if I have this on my wrist, it gives me credibility, among my peers or, with clients or with just the public. And that's what people, aspire to. They want to have that, that status symbol that's on your wrist. It's like if you go into somebody's house, up on Park Avenue, and they've got, a Kahlo or Basquiat on their wall. It's like, you go like that, but it's so much more portable and so much more, and now everybody's dialed into it, which is the thing, no pun intended. But it's like everybody's so, keyed up on it. It's like, oh my God, everybody's looking. It's like, I'm looking at you. You've got a Vacheron that you're wearing over there, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice watch. Okay, but I'm in this business, but I guarantee you walk into a restaurant, the busboy, the waitress.
No, they have no idea.
They have every idea. And that's,
the Vacheron or the Rolex?
Well, I mean, it's a striking watch.
That's a very, specific watch. I mean, you'll notice that watch from across the street. And people these days, and in New York, it's very, very, it's not like it used to be. I mean, we don't wear watches anymore because of, a lot of the theft that goes on, for security reasons. And, I've got to set the example with them or else, maybe they'd be walking around with big diamond watches on.
Especially given the following now on social and TikTok. We saw Kim Kardashian in Paris years ago, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're the watch guy. How many watches do you have on you right now?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And you see people getting shot in LA and in the city now, grabbing their watches off their wrists.
Right off their wrist. We get all of those, videos because a lot of times, we know the people that it happened to, and they'll send us serial numbers. If anything pops up in New York, please hold it, confiscate it. It's a crazy world right now out there. And
how often do you deal with stolen and or fake watches?
Fakes are more common, the obvious fakes we're not really going to get. We'll get the ones that are kind of like the ones that somebody put together to fool somebody.
Yeah.
Which are really dangerous because 99% of the people on 47th Street haven't got a clue. Yeah. And I say that lovingly to all of them. It's like, you don't have a clue.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're really looking at. We usually will find something that's, not right very quickly. I'll look at it, I'll feel it. And what happens is people don't know.
Yeah.
You know, they don't know. It's not that they did it purposely, but a lot of the dealers, they're buying and selling really quickly and they just don't know, and then it'll come across my desk. I mean, that a known dealer sent him a watch a week or 2 weeks ago that had a bad case, which is somebody did it to fool somebody.
Ooh.
So
that's a tell. The case is bad.
The case is bad. And the way that the face was the dial was
the dial
good.
That's funny to me. So I went over his house. I was like, yo, does this look okay to you?
Yeah. And the case was, Rolex cases, they're supposed to be 18 karat gold. The minute I looked at it compared to the bracelet was real. Movement was real. But the case
You made a video on this, right?
Yeah, I did
watched
the video.
it, yeah.
You saw it. And it was like, oh my God.
And the guy was the guy in the video, like in the back, and he was just like, oh. Was that the right video?
No, that was him.
Oh,
that was him shooting.
I was just filming.
He was filming. Yeah, but a lot of people aren't going to notice the difference in the color between the 14 karat and the 18 karat. And I scratched it, and it came up 14 karat. We had one of the biggest videos that we did. It was the same kind of deal. A guy brought a watch to one of the dealers on 47th Street. They brought it to me, and he's like, "Oh, how much would you pay for this?" I'm like, "All right, something's not right." That one was like 10 karat gold or something. It didn't even scratch right. And that's what happens, you got to be very careful.
So what do you do in that situation? You're just out, or you ask for a refund, or you?
We didn't pay.
They sent it to me on memo. So, well, not memo like when I sell it, I pay for it. On memo, they send it to me, and then I look at it, and then I pay for them.
Got it. So you got it, and then you send it back.
Yeah, I usually pay within the same day or the next day.
So you guys are shipping $40,000 plus watches just through the mail?
Yeah.
Oh no,
not
we do
mail.
FedEx
No,
insured.
FedEx overnight insured.
If it's over 100,000, we'll use like an armored carrier, Malka Ahmed, Brinks, or any of those. But we try to keep everything, on the street because we're not running around. People think we're running around with, bags of watches. Everything stays on 47th Street. They'll see me with my red bag, and it's like, okay, here, you want to open my bags? There's my checkbook. There's tools. There's all kinds of crap. There are wristbands,
a loop.
You
got a box of
all
these
kinds
in
of
there
stuff
now.
in it, but nothing leaves the street. And
What's the best investment for someone who wants to start investing in watches today?
Specifically in Rolex.
Buy real estate.
Buy real estate. No.
That's why we're here.
Yes,
no,
exactly.
Listen, that's no joke. Real estate is important. I've been preaching that. I preach that to both of them. It's like, once you come up, buying and selling watches is a wonderful thing. And it's a great living. I've made lots of money doing it. Okay. Yeah. But what I always do, the next step is always real estate.
Yeah.
That's what you buy. You buy dirt. And I'm really good at buying dirt. Yeah. And he bought some good dirt. Really did. I had
it might explode.
Nah. I don't know. I'm going to live in it and take the risk.
And it came with a free cat.
Oh.
Yeah.
Can I tell the story?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you just bought your first house.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I just bought my first house. So the lady had dementia that sold it to me. How do I know this? Because she wanted to meet me. She wanted to meet who the house was going to, because she raised her family in it. And she wanted to meet me and show me some things. And, she showed me where the bird bath was and, the bird feeder, and she left me a box of bird feeder. But there's a cat. And she told me there was 2 cats. She was able to take one. And she's like, they're laughing because it's so ridiculous. Like, only this would happen to me. So there were 2 cats that she told me, like, hey, like, I might leave these cats because they won't let me touch them. Like, I put food out, they eat the food, and then that's it. I cannot touch them. So I was like, I thought she was joking. Like, I don't expect her to leave cats. So, I'm closing day. I pick up a box of Twisted Teas. Don't make fun of me. And I'm like,
good.
Yes, they're good.
They're
right?
so good.
So I pull up to the house. I'm sitting there like, what did I just do? I just bought a house. And all of a sudden, I just see a fucking, sorry, can I curse? I just saw a fucking cat dart across the floor. I'm like, what the fuck was that? It was
inside the house.
Inside the house.
So you just bought and closed on.
Yes. So, yeah. Another story, while I was, a couple of days before I closed the final walkthrough. No, wait, this wasn't a final walkthrough. I had my final walkthrough the same day. She took the washer and dryer with her. She wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
Just saying.
People do that all the time. I'm like, what
that was a whole problem. But anyway, so, one of the few days before we left, or before we closed on the house, me and the real estate agent and I are standing by the cars, and I'm talking to him like this, and he's looking at me from this way, and the house is this way. And he's like, dude, turn around. I'm like, what? I turn around, and she's like in the garage talking to herself. And I was like, oh, fuck. So it could be haunted. We don't know. We don't know yet. I haven't slept there yet. I'm sleeping there tomorrow.
Oh,
Goodness.
Yeah.
good luck.
Thank you. I've been
If you never
setting it
make
up.
another watch talk after that, we'll know what happened.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah, the cat or the
cat.
the
The
cat or the
gotcha.
ghost.
What's the hard pivot here? What's the craziest deal you guys have done, each of you?
Like, so you guys crazy would just be our regular day. Like, that's why I would
He
have to
has
think of
some
something
crazy
particular.
stories.
Like what?
Oh, this isn't about me.
Here's a hard pivot.
Yeah, I've had to, I mean, like just the most random things. Like you have to end up traveling to hunt people down. You got people,
Yeah.
you deal with a lot of people who are liars, and all of a sudden money shows up. Whose money is this? You deal with like FBI raids on properties.
Nice. That's
right? There's a
new.
lot of like white collar crime. We do a lot of like Department of Justice sales.
Wow.
You deal with, and then like to get deals closed, there's things where like you take a lot of risk. Like you guys, what I appreciate a lot about you guys is a lot of times you're taking the investment and then banking on what you know about the product, hoping to make a return, right? Otherwise, you're just gonna have a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
right? Whereas for us, we're not the developers, we're not building them, we're just brokering it. But in cases where I've been like, okay, pretty sure this guy's gonna do it. I guess I'll go to China and convince him, or I'll go and do this, or I'm going to buy this thing, or I've fronted deposits before and like just hope to God that they've funded it because the money's gotten stuck. Like stuff like that, just to keep things moving.
Yeah.
I don't know. But like the watch world is very different.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a different world. You should just go up on 47th Street and just like hang there for a little while.
I told them I will do
You
that.
guys are welcome to come
You're always
anytime.
welcome.
Yeah.
I will do that. You guys see crazy things.
Oh my God.
You have to wear
Yeah.
all black. Right? And you just have to hang out there. You'll be good to go.
Yeah.
Drop in from the drop ceiling. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So give me what's a crazy deal that comes to mind?
Yes.
Plenty of parking lot deals at night, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Atlantic City deals.
Gas station.
I never told you about those.
Yeah. Thanks. Please
don't
don't.
really-
I
Okay,
saw you go to the train station to trade a watch.
Yeah, that's just normal though. That's like, we're just going to a train station in the middle of the day. Like that's pretty safe. Side of the turn. Yeah.
Side of the
Side of the
turnpike.
road one time,
Wow.
driving up into like houses and stuff. But
The funny
yeah, I've
thing-
made it out. So that's
Yeah,
pretty
you're
good
here
so
right
far.
now.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
So
We,
Yeah,
it's very.
That's the first I've ever seen that.
you never seen that?
No.
He's gonna start doing that now.
Oh, all right. Okay. Miami.
set a trend
all
on
right.
that one.
All right. This is New York. Oh, God. We meet people. I've always been one of these people that I will do whatever I have to do to make the deal work.
Yeah.
I was buying gold. I had these guys early on when I started. They came and I sat in a diner on Route 9, an Alpen diner, and I bought gold off these guys. They had a bag full of like baby rings, little cheap 14 karat stuff. I sat there, I scratched every piece. It was like 10, 15 grand. I tipped the waitress because we knew everybody there. They took their money and they left. About 5 years later, and you'll remember this, guy calls me up, was like, hey, you bought a bunch of gold off of my brother years ago
At a diner.
at a diner. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I remember. I was like, oh, how much? I knew who it was.
Yeah.
So he's like, hey, would you come up? And I have a bunch of gold over here. Could you come to my house and buy the gold? I'm like, yeah, sure. Where do you live? Gives me the address. It's in the projects in New Jersey. I Google the address. And his dad's an ex-cop.
Yeah.
Okay. I call his dad. I'm like, hey, Doug, what do you think? You want to take a ride with me? He's like, you're crazy. I'm not going up there. I'm like, all right. So I'm trying to find somebody to take a ride with me. Nobody wants to take a ride with me. Okay.
But you
I'm
want to
like,
get this deal done.
I was like, I'm getting the deal done. I was like, okay, fine. So it was up in Irvington, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And I had just gotten my car. I had a new car. Okay. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going, and if anything happens, if you don't hear from me in 20 minutes or so, once I call you from outside the place, call the cops. Here's the address. I don't know who I told that to. I think I can't remember who it was. I didn't tell it to my wife because my wife would have flipped out.
Yeah.
I didn't tell it to your dad either. So I drive up and I see the building, and it's in the projects. And I pull up, and a guy comes running down the stairs towards me. And I'm like, this is it. So he comes out, he knocks on my door. And I just got an S-Class. Guy knocks on my window. I'm like, here we go. He's like, hey, you're here to see, I think his name was Brian. I'm like, yeah. He's like, here, I'll watch your car. I'm like, okay. I'm like, here you go. I'm going to leave the keys in the car. If you're going to rob my car, rob my car. He's like, oh, no problem. Here, go upstairs. You know whether you got the apartment number? He's like, yeah. Go up. It was apartment in the 4th floor. It was 4 or something, 4F. Go upstairs. Guy was sitting there. He was not in very good health, which is probably the reason why he couldn't come to meet me. And I sat there. He made me a cup of coffee. I bought another $5,000-$7,000 worth of gold off him, paid him, went downstairs, tipped the guy that was watching my car and drove away. It's like, I was like, God, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. But those are the type of things, I mean, my wife flips out when I tell these stories because she's like, you've got a death wish. There's something wrong with you. What's the matter with you? It's like, no, it's like, I just like the excitement, I do like the excitement.
Well, you can kind of tell also when you're on the phone with these people, like how,
are you dealing with somebody?
Yeah, if they're acting sketchy, so you kind of
He sounded okay.
Well, it becomes kind of second nature. It's like second nature at this point.
Yeah. You know that. I mean, we know that. All that. Like I remember selling these apartments downtown in a new building to a Russian guy that I knew. Like when I met him, I'm like, oh man, this guy's going to be difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
I didn't think like dangerous. I just thought like, and he was right. But the market was hot. Things were moving. He decides to go to contract on 3 apartments, but they don't close for 2 years because it's new construction towers, right? Over those 2 years, his business really changed for the worse. The market got softer and softer and softer. And if you're in contract and you got to close for millions of dollars and the business has changed, people start to try to get out of contracts, right? You saw that happen a lot in 2008. It happened on every deal in April 2020, right? New York's dead, everything's over. And I remember going to the walkthrough and he was so upset. And I remember he pushed me up against the wall in one of the apartments. He shut the door, so we were by ourselves. Right. He's super scary, very mean, very Russian, no offense, but like there's a lot for me in that moment. And he's like, if you don't get me out of these contracts, I'm putting you under the bridge like I did Ivan. And I will never forget it. And the sales agent for the building was on the other side. She didn't come to help me. She didn't do anything. He left. I was like all blood drained out of my body. And I was just like, did you hear him? And she's like, I think I heard some of it. Like we have to figure out how to get him out. And thank God, I hate some attorneys sometimes, but there's an attorney named Adam Lightman Bailey who's very, very smart, very tough. And I took the deals to him and I'm like, I will somehow figure out how to pay you back. You have to find a way to get this guy out of these contracts. It's super important to me. Yes. I don't know how else to tell you this because I didn't want to make it a thing, and he found like one line in the offering plan that he like cited back to 1962 Attorney General, this, and threatened to go public with it. And the developer released all 3 contracts, and I'm still here to this day.
Nice.
And Ivan's not.
Oh,
I've never made it from the beginning, and that's like it's crazy.
That's a good one.
What's the rarest watch you stumble? Like if someone brings something to you and you're like, shut up, those don't exist anymore. I haven't seen one of those.
He deals with more of those like rare parts, so he can answer that question better than I can.
Just recently.
Which one?
Just recently, a guy brought a dial to me. Oh yeah. The guy, friend of mine from Italy, showed up.
Yeah.
He's like, Buckley, I got to show you something. And I'm like, okay. So he shows up and I was by Tony's and you weren't there. You guys were out shooting something or other. And he shows up, not that he would have wanted me to shoot this, but I took some pictures of it. And it was a super rare, and it was Daytona dial from the 70s.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the watches, together are probably, over $1 million. Oh
my God.
The loose dial would probably sell for more because somebody would take it and put it into their watch that's got provenance or whatever. I mean, that needs one. And it was just one of those things where you never know what's going to pop up on 47th Street.
So what happened with that dial? He just wanted you to see it?
No, he wanted to sell it. And he wanted more money than I could get for it. He wanted over $1 million for it. I thought it was worth it, but it was one of those deals where you can't really shop it. It's got to be,
super private.
Yeah. You understand. And it's like, I told 2 people about it. They were like, could you send me pictures? I'm like, no, can't send you pictures. I have the pictures here. If you want to show up at the booth, I will show you the pictures, but I cannot send them to you because I agreed that I would never send out the pictures. You got to be really careful with that stuff. In our business, if somebody shows me a watch, okay, and they say to me, I want this deal just between us, if I know where it's going, if I have a home for it, and I tell the guy, a lot of times we don't, want anybody to show pictures of stuff on the internet because it'll burn it for the real collectors.
Yeah.
They want something fresh to market that no one's ever seen before. And you've got to abide by that.
For someone who is just starting out within the watch community, you guys obviously have a preference for Rolex. What would you recommend as a good starter watch for someone to, impress their clientele, like the way we were talking about?
A starter watch to wear or a starter watch for someone to get into the business and start selling?
Well, for both. So for someone like me, a real estate agent in New York City, what's a good watch for me to start? And then for people who are looking to get into the business, what's a good first investment?
Do you like steel or two-tone watches?
Steel.
Steel. So you get a nice 36 millimeter date just from the late 80s, early 90s. I think that'd be nice, right?
Yeah.
And how much will that run you?
4,000 to 5,000.
Okay.
If it has papers.
Okay. And then for someone who is starting to get into the industry, you have to obviously buy these products. So you have to have some capital to start off.
Mm-hmm.
What's a good starting point?
You could start off with $1,000 and start buying Tag Heuers. And, we preach that on our channels. If you have a higher budget and, maybe you have $5,000 to spend or $6,000 to spend, you can buy a 1601 date just, which is a non-quick date just. It's a steel watch. And you could probably buy them for $2,800 to $3,000, sell them for $3,300, $3,400, and there you go. You just made profit.
Yeah, see, he and I have a difference of opinion on this.
Yeah.
What's your thought?
It's not a difference of opinion. It's just
Preference.
It's not. He's young.
Are you going to say don't put all your eggs in one basket?
No. You know what I preach. I preach it's all about process. Okay. Yeah. We have a chat group that we charge people for. Okay.
What's it called?
Vookum Verified chat group.
Yeah.
Vookum Verified.
Vookum Verified.
Link is in the bio.
No, how can they join it?
$19.99 a month.
Yeah, $20 a month. Cancel anytime. Price checks, legit checks. Buy, sell, trade. Speak to guys like us all day long.
And where can we find that?
In the link in bio.
Where can't you find it would be the better. It's everywhere.
Vookum.com and in our bios. But in any
all
event,
our bios.
People ask this all the time of me. And I say to them, I'm like, look, they're like, hey, I've got $5,000. I want to get into the watch business. I'm like, oh, here's what you do. You take $4,900 and give it to somebody and tell them not to give it to you. Take $100 and go to a flea market like Mikorski did, okay, and find a watch, okay? I'm like, hold on.
Find a watch.
Find a watch, buy it, and sell it and make a profit. Oh, but it's not a Rolex. It's like, it doesn't have to be. It could be anything try to find something that's running so that you don't get into that problem.
Yeah.
But if you're going to go out there and learn, you have to learn about the process. You're going to buy something and then you've got to sell it. You'd be surprised. You'll buy something for $100. You'll sell it for $200 and you'll double your money. You go out there, like he just said, you'll buy a watch for $3,000, you make $300, and then you sell it to some private and they'll be like, hey, it's not running. And then you got to service it for $600.
If you care about your reputation.
If you care about your reputation, which you
Unless
should.
you're one of these fly-by-night guys that, they just sell it and get rid of it when somebody asks them 2 days later, it's not running anymore. And they go, oh, well, I sold to you running.
Right.
That's just not how you do business.
So how has your business changed since TikTok stardom? Because you've been doing this a long, long time. You've been doing it a little while, right? You started, really, like you said, you guys really started about a year ago, taking it seriously, and it's ramped up pretty quickly. It's now notoriety, right? Like if I think about going and buying another watch, I don't know where else I would go.
That's
right?
good.
Because people, same thing with real estate. Why do you think I did a TV show for so long?
Right.
It's like,
we're omnipresent.
Yeah, you want to be out there.
Everywhere.
So when people think luxury, when they think watches, right? They think you now. How has it affected your business so far? It's 2023.
Well, I don't get stuck with watches anymore. Like if I have a few watches and I can't sell them, I'll just post them on my Instagram story and they sell almost immediately. Within usually 45 minutes to an hour, they'll all be sold. Yeah, so that's fun. Because my business is all dealer-to-dealer transactions.
Yeah.
I never really sold to the public, kind of like Buckley does as well. But just recently, like I said, within the past year, I've been taking the watches that won't sell to dealers. I just post them on my Instagram, and they'll always sell because the price is very close to what I charge dealers.
Sure.
So that's how it's affected me. I don't get stuck with stuff anymore.
Got it. What about you?
I've been trading online since the late 90s when the internet picked up.
Yeah.
And that's how I became popular and known in the business. With regard to TikTok, I always use this comparison. Before TikTok broke, I had maybe 3,000 followers on Instagram. Okay. But my 3,000 followers were the best 3,000 followers that you could possibly find.
Super quality.
I would post something, it would sell in 5 minutes or it wouldn't sell. and I just put it into rotation or I throw it in a box or whatever. Now with TikTok, we get a lot more of the random calls. It's like, hey, Buckley, can you source me this watch?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, that's the reason why we started the chat group.
Yeah, that I forgot to mention that one too. Because when they call
So you
me,
have a lot more buyers that are coming in.
Oh, they're all over. But
yeah, like
that's
for
why
a
we started the
specific
chat
watch.
group.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they could join the chat group.
What are people
too.
looking for now? Like, what's the trend? Because the watch market goes trend, and then it's like all over the place. And it was super hot during COVID. Has it come down a little bit now?
It's still, it's a paper tiger, I call it.
Paper tiger.
It's not,
That was a
it's
big word.
not as strong as people want to think it is.
okay.
You've got dealers who have money,
Yep.
who will buy,
Yep.
okay, if the price is right. And then you've got people who bought over the last year who are buried in stuff that they
Yeah.
will never, and they all want to be dealers.
Sure.
They'll buy a watch and, hey, I'm going to flip this watch. And I get this all the time. It's like, hey, I bought this watch off so-and-so and I paid this much money for it. Can I get this much money? I'm like, well, you've got a problem because I could sell you this watch for, 30% less than what you're asking me for.
Yeah.
Oh, so what do I do? I was like, go back to who you bought it from, and ask him if he wants to buy it back. Oh no, they don't need it right now. They've got, they've got plenty of inventory. I was like, welcome to the party. It's
Yeah.
like, here you go. This is why you don't go out there and, buy watches on spec. It's like you don't go out there and buy, units on spec.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
It's the same thing,
Yeah.
because the market shifts. And if you're not prepared to sit on stuff and or take a loss, you're in big trouble.
But isn't there a slight difference in this market right now, and that new product is so hard to come by due to ongoing supply constraints? Like if you go to Geneva today, like good luck, right? You walk into any store and like there's compared to 3 years ago.
Just recently, I've heard lots of guys, because I get reports all the time. You could walk into a Rolex dealership and buy like kind of like expensive, kind of like dog watches, we call them. It's like a
Like
white gold
the blue
Submariner.
bezel, the blue bezel.
Yeah,
white
blue
gold
bezel GMT.
Submariner.
It's like you can
No,
go in there.
Submariner, right?
I mean, what's
That's
that?
it. The Blue Bezel Submariner
They call
is
it
a
the
dog
Cookie
watch.
Monster.
Whatever
That's
the
what
hell.
they're calling it
Monster.
They have
nowadays.
these stupid names for things. It's terrible. And you can go in there and you could buy one of those from an AD. I mean,
Yeah.
one of the guys I know bought a white gold Daytona with a factory diamond dial. He's like, oh, I paid $33,000 for it. I'm like, oh, I could have sold it to you for $29,000.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, these watches
They're
are
back now.
available.
Okay.
And now dealers are starting to get some inventory. Somebody that's been in the business way longer than me, who I set up with on 47th Street for years, Danny Pasternak. And he said to me, he's like, do you really think that you're never going to be able to walk into a Rolex dealership, an AD, an authorized dealer, and not be able to buy a Datejust for the rest of your life? It's not realistic.
Yeah.
It's just not. And it's starting to loosen up a little bit. And Rolex, they're a smart company. They'll raise the prices a little bit, and then all the gray market guys will start, hoarding stuff. That's basically what happens. But the real market, I mean, it goes up and down, and it's a lot more volatile than you'll see online. I mean, everybody wants to pump a good market. I love a down market.
Yeah.
And I'll just buy everything up and just sit on it because I have issues.
Yeah.
It's bad.
So we talked about watches having different types of names.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Well, you have a watch that's named after you, correct?
Yeah, that's not terrible. That's good. That's really good.
Before
Yeah.
we wrap up, what is the story on that?
I did it myself.
Oh, okay. And it just caught on?
Yes.
That's awesome.
I did it myself. I had a
When in
fight.
doubt, do it yourself.
Do it yourself. That's
Yes.
it. Maybe we should make a building or something named after
People
you.
do that.
Is this-
Look
do
at
it.
this building. This whole building has got my name all
Isn't
over
that
it.
great? It's
Yeah.
fantastic. I
Yeah.
wanted the billboard though, and they said no.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's up
I
with
wanted
that?
no. You know what? We got this building during COVID, and the billboard. They thought mistakenly that the billboard was more valuable because everyone was saying that office and retail are dead, and we were like, for now, these deals are long term. So I think it's fine. Like everything's gonna be okay.
I think it's great.
But there's no traffic. There's no police in the streets. Everything was when we did this. All the windows were still boarded from George Floyd riots and all that stuff. And so it was like a crazy. It was a crazy time.
47th Street too.
Yeah. No. Obviously. Yeah. It's crazy.
Our lease ended. Okay, we had. I've been on 47th Street for the better part of 15, 16 years set up in booth. And our lease was set to end February 28th of 2020.
Nice.
And Danny and I, who set up together for years, we were like, let's wait another month. All this stuff is going on with,
People are
with
getting
this
sick in
pandemic.
Italy.
People are getting sick.
France
And
is
this
weird. Yeah.
And I went to Florida. It was his birthday in March. And we didn't renew, which was a beautiful thing because it's very expensive over there. We were renting a space probably from here to the plant.
Yeah.
This big. It was like $8,000 a month. And
For like 80 square feet.
yeah, from here to the plant,
Wow.
not to the wall, to the plant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
And
that's nice.
out to here with a showcase that you had to
Yeah. It's crazy.
like in the restaurant business type deal. Like you had to go back to back
Yeah.
if you're going to move around.
Tables, everything.
And we just said, you know what? Let's wait. What the hell? There's going to be maybe more stuff opening up. Sure enough, the exchange was closed for the better part of, I don't know how long. Nobody came,
Yeah.
but
For a
it was
year.
good because we started the dealer chat right around then in April of 2020.
Push hard online, everything.
Yeah, he started, stepping up in the business. The two of them started doing, more stuff. And we just, I was always set up to work
Sure.
online. And it was an easy transition for us. We had a very, very strong year, the year of COVID, because everybody in Europe couldn't get out of their house.
Yeah. And they
You
got
know?
bored. So they're
And they
sitting
got
there buying
bored. They were
watches
sitting
all
there
day long.
buying
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah. It's insane.
I always said,
Except
it was
for
like,
real estate
as
in New
long
York.
as FedEx is
Pelotons.
going, we're good.
Yeah. Pelotons. Your Pelotons and watches.
Pelotons and
That's it.
watches. Yeah,
How old are both of you guys?
22.
22.
That was like perfect.
How old are
timing.
you?
Yeah,
23. I'm not the youngest.
We do that all the
You're
time,
older
so-
than them?
Well, this is
no
good,
one
though. That's
would know.
impressive.
No one would know.
Well, I probably look like I'm like 28, 29.
Yeah, a little bit.
Just by looking at me in the face.
Where else would I look at you?
Where would you want to look?
I don't know.
Do we,
Just
do,
the
we,
way you
do, we
said
end, do we end it there?
Podcast over.
Oh my God.
No, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I mean, I could
Thanks
talk
for
to you
having us.
for
Thank you for
forever. It's
having
been
us.
super cool to watch everything. What's the significance of the sailboat tattoo?
The sailboat tattoo? Well, it's from my grandpa, but I kind of also just wanted a tattoo. So he liked nautical shit. So it's like, I'm going to get a sailboat. I have a whole leg sleeve too. I could start whipping that out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the whole sleeve. Done.
Really?
Yeah.
Why'd you get a leg sleeve?
We do jujitsu.
Yeah.
And I felt, inadequate around guys that were just better than us. So I was like, I'm going to get a leg
He was
sleeve.
convinced that a leg sleeve would make him better.
And it did. It
Did
made me
it?
like this much better.
That's
Do you have
enough.
tattoos?
I'm not good, but like it made me better than I was.
Yeah.
So
But at least now, like when people see you, they're like, oh, well, he
It
must
gives
be.
you the illusion.
He must be a warrior.
Yeah, no, exactly. They're
Yeah,
like,
brand, brands. Hello.
I wouldn't mess with
It's
that
optics.
guy. And
It's
I'm
just
like,
an illusion. It's
you can
just-
mess with me.
I don't mess with people with tattoos. Yeah, if they have a sleeve, any sleeves, anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna start finishing up the arm and everything.
You
Once
just
I
get like all the boats, mermaids,
I have
everything.
to recoup my loss from the house first.
No,
And then-
you'll be good with the
and then,
house.
yeah.
Dude, real estate, like he said.
Never have a problem
You're
with
in a
that.
good spot.
You're in a good spot.
Some-
Well,
my electrical
congrats,
box.
congrats, everything. You know, you
Congrats.
should meet. I should introduce you to Brent Montgomery. So Brent Montgomery created a show called Pawn Stars, and so
okay.
he runs Wheelhouse,
no kidding.
which is huge. And so our first office as a company, because I started the company in really the summer of 2020. I had to was like, where do we go? This place didn't exist yet. Trying to figure out what to do. Like everyone said, don't do it. And he has a townhouse in Tribeca called Wheelhouse. It's like one big clubhouse. And he was like, should I sell it? Is New York, anyone coming back? I'm like, you know what you could do? I could use it. I'm trying to figure out what to do. And so we were in this big content house, and they've created like every reality show of all time at this point. But those are good guys for you guys to know as you think about like growing content, growing platform, like really like monetizing all that stuff. I mean, he is direct to all the streamers. Everyone has a massive LA base. That's like
Nice.
a good something that we should put together so you guys can know them.
Cool. Sounds good
Yeah.
to
Love
me.
it.
Sick.
We'll
Yeah.
see you on TV.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and TikTok and everything. So thanks for coming through. We appreciate it.
Thank you
Oh,
so
yeah.
much for
Thank you
having
for
us.
having us.
Yeah,
It's a
thanks for
pleasure.
watching another episode
Wonderful.
of Business of Influence starring me and this kid. See ya.
Andy Claire.
We like them.